What is up, everybody? So we're going to be having our first look at the full New Warrior team in action in Crucible. Now, this is playtest footage, so it is subject to change, and it also looks a little bit wonky because the teams are not exactly what we're used to seeing. They seem to get dumbed down a lot, nerfed a little bit, so be careful when looking at this footage as like gameplay footage to emulate. We're also going to be talking about Gwenpool. I think she's a very, very fun, interesting character. Obviously, she's fun. She's a Deathpool version, but Gwenpool, like Gwen Stacy, it's awesome. She's really fun. Her kit's actually pretty good. She seems to have some standalone potential, perhaps. So we're gonna go over T4's ISO 8. We'll talk about that a little bit. But the overall message of the video is gonna be like I kind of expected a little bit more out of the New Warriors, and I wouldn't be surprised if we get a rework. But you'll see why when you watch some of these fights. Alright guys, so here we are with Gwenpool. Now this is an infographic I made. You can catch this on the Patreon, or whenever the next patch begins, this will go up for free. There's a bunch of stats missing right now. We need to pretty up some of those pictures, and I'll be able to do that when the patch goes live and everything goes into MSFGG, which is now just a regular website. So about Gwenpool. Her T4s, super duper important. The extra dodge on her passive, the speed bar on her special, and then the safeguard speed up on her ultimate. Those are all things you need for the team to function, especially against that Tangled Web Eternal team, if it works. Which we're gonna see. We got a lot of footage to go over. Make sure you hit those timestamps so you don't waste your time if you're watching a fight that you have no interest in. As far as ISO 8 goes, I feel very strongly about her as a raider. Her basic, very, very strong. I don't know if that is going to carry over to a striker, but she's the fastest character on the team, starting at 127. She's going to set the stage. We want her to get some vulnerables out there. An argument, I guess, could be made for Skirmisher as well for that reason. However, she gets 1000% focus on her special as well, so it's kind of useless. But Gwenpool herself as a standalone character, there's a little bit of interest there. At 127 and flipping 3 positive effects on her chain attack, which does hit 5 targets total, there is a world where she could be used elsewhere. But on her team, she's called a brawler, but she's really the protector. And she's going to protect the team. She's going to get a taunt out, and then she's going to get safeguard speed up and a bunch of buffs out there as well. Her basic gives defense up, but you're never really going to use that basic because the kit stuff that happens with the special and the ultimate is way, way, way more powerful. And then she's actually this aim unique or whatever, which is good because it's not very much used. Anyway, we're going to go jump into some footage. Make sure you use those timestamps again because it is going to be a longer video. And I got to say, my first impressions are not very favorable of this team. I think we're going to be seeing another rework team, I believe. I have a couple suggestions that I think would really shore up the matches that this team should beat. So like this is a Crucible team. It's got, I know it's only 2 new characters, but that's what Wardogs was, and Wardogs came in and just absolutely owned in the war scene. I feel like this team should be better. This team should walk over Darkhold. It should at least be able to beat Unlimited, and it should definitely be able to beat the team that it was sold to beat, which is the Tangled Eternal team. Without further ado, let's go check that footage. Alright guys, so here we are with our first look at the New Warrior team against the Tangled Eternal team. I opted to put Emma in there. I wanted to see how the speed would mess around with it. I'm also going to try and see if I could squeeze in an Apocalypse version here, because I believe Pathfinder was telling me that there was a wrench in there a little bit. So that's disheartening to say the least. But I have even further concerns than that. So first thing you'll notice is that this is not the same size of a Tangled Eternal team you'll normally see. I don't know why it's downgraded their gear to be gear tier 15. A lot of people have gear tier 17 on this entire team, on the Eternals and the Spider Weaver and 2099. So let's get in there and let's see how this goes. And I'm going to point to you an issue that I found, and then we'll play it out and we'll explore that issue, if you will. Because yeah, I was very excited for this team. I love Cloak and Dagger's kit. I love how they work together. And I really like Deathpool too. And just the amount of damage that goes in there is really cool. So here's where the issue comes in. You get to dodge that, which is great. Now, this is the issue right here, is Gwenpool's special is a chain attack. Now, we'll chain all the way through. The issue I was finding, or the issue I thought, is what if stealth units are in both corners? So let's play it out this way when there's not stealth units in both corners. And also keep in mind, like, with this team, there's a lot of stealth units. Alright, so now that we have everything flipped, we want to put trauma on there. Because if the Eternals do get to use their ultimates, it will do very little damage with that offense offense down. And that's where Firestar comes in handy. So she's going to go ahead, put trauma and heal block on them. That's going to stop a lot of what they do. Their passives, where they drop, I believe it's 30% life. It's just not going to take into effect here. Now, actually, I kill the Icarus. So he is going to ult with his not offense up if he survives long enough. But we get to Cloak gets to go first too. If I wanted to, I could actually just focus down the Icarus here. And it does look like that Icarus is going to die. Okay, so this looked great. There was a clear issue with the power of the Eternals here. That Icarus dying that easily, even with the defense up, I guess he had defense down, right? That's when Deathpool killed him. But then he died after having not defense down anymore. He had no buffs. And he died to, like, Dagger Special. And that's just not realistic. But I did think, I didn't like how clean that was. Because I saw the obvious error if we cannot flip everything on those Eternals. If we cannot flip that immunity and then follow it up with a trauma and offense down, a heal block to keep that all in line, then I can see an issue coming. So I'm going to force myself to attack on the Spider Weaver here and see which way it goes. And it went towards the Cersei. So I could use the trauma and get that stuck onto the Cersei, which is good. I could have used the flip. I think I do on the next attempt, but it just doesn't seem to play out the same way. And again, I don't like how weak these Eternals are, because you see them just absolutely falling to pieces. But here Icarus does get to use his ultimate. The Cersei bleeds out, and then she gets to use her ultimate too. And now you see I'm in a really bad position here, in a losing position actually. And again, these are weaker Eternals than what they would have been. I think I probably would have just straight up died if it was my live Eternals. But I still lose, which is crazy, right? So we'll go back in there. We'll try it one more time and see what happens. So it is 120k punch up on the playtest. That's because I left Gwenpool and Firestar at 4 yellow, 4 red here. Let me move my head so you can actually see what my power levels are when we get to there. Oh, she's actually at 5 red, 5 yellow. Okay, so I made a little misclick there. All right, so this time Icarus got hit. I opt to use the special and nothing gets flipped on the Cersei. Absolutely nothing. Probably should have used the ultimate, so I could have got trauma on Icarus. Let's see how this plays out. So Cersei actually cleansed everything. She could not have cleansed if I did have trauma up there. And then Cloak goes. So he still had offense down when he did his ultimate. So it doesn't really matter that I maybe made a misplay. He was still ulting with offense down. But it's the turn me to rewind that's the big problem, right? We don't have an ability block on this team. It's not like I can ability block Icarus and then make it stick with the trauma. So I start going for the Spider Weaver here. I got a nice kill on her early. And you can see I'm still just in a really bad position here. Now, if Gwenpool lives to do her ultimate, then we're going to be much better. However, there goes Deathpool. Losing Deathpool is big. So at least that's going to cleanse everything. Give me safeguard, defense up, a bunch of nice stuff. You definitely need to open up with the Gwenpool specials so that you're able to do that ability as soon as possible. I was kind of holding out hope that I'd be able to use Cloak and Dagger's synergy here to get through it. And it's just not going to happen. Like, Icarus still has his revive. And there he goes cleansing stuff. So you can kind of see how I'm like very monotone right now, because this is wholly underwhelming how this plays out. And this is not even with a character like Apocalypse. Like, Emma's not doing nothing here. A character like Apocalypse, especially an Awakened Apocalypse, is going to make this matchup just not work. But here, let me go ahead and pause this and let's have a little conversation. So I have given my opinion to the developer, and maybe this will not even make to the recording because maybe they'll make the change, that Gwenpool's special needs to just hit all enemies. Now, that's a little bit too powerful, maybe for like war or something. I actually don't even know what the crucible tags attached to it are. If it's just damage, then it should just do all enemies, because that'll just simplify everything. If it flips everything in War 2, maybe that's too powerful and they don't want that. In that case, they should make it hit 6 enemies, so that if someone brings a summoner in, it's still guaranteed to hit all the Eternals. And then you can go from there. But the fact that this team could pretty much just get countered by positioning both of your Eternals into the corners so that they're both in stealth, and then your Gwenpool can literally only hit one of them, and you can only put the trauma on one of them. And there's no like ability blocks. You can't really control that. It's basically like you need to kill whatever Eternal you get all the flips on. You need to kill that Eternal twice, which I guess is possible here. I could have done that here, and then maybe my dagger is now opening with her ultimate instead of her special. I can get the second kill on them. I wouldn't risk my Crucible on that though. So very, very underwhelming in this matchup, which they were supposed to be the best for. And again, we're gonna see if I can get some Apocalypse footage in, and if I did, then it's coming up right now. But otherwise, let's go check some other fights out. All right, get that monotone guy out of there, because we got more footage to show, and it's going to be the Apocalypse version of this team instead of Emma, and it plays out completely different. But we got to talk about the elephant in the room. These team powers are way different than what we were just talking about, and they'll be way different than what you're going to see from the future teams in this video. So what happened is our accounts got rebalanced to level 85, gear tier 15, 4 red stars. So the enemy team is much smaller. My team is much smaller. That is not an Awakened Apocalypse. These are all important pieces of information to keep in mind. So we're going to take in our new warrior team, and you'll see where we are punching down now. My team is gear tier 16. Their team is gear tier 15. This is a playtest. Always, always, always be careful with the playtest, trying to take it as the gospel truth. So there's a couple of very important things to talk about with this particular matchup. So again, we're forced to kind of pick one Eternal, and you know what? If both stealth Eternals were on one side, then we'd be absolutely screwed if it had chained towards the other side, right? So we get the flips on Cersei in this case, and now we're going to go ahead and throw immunity on her as well. And now something very, very different than the last matchup is about to happen. Not this part. This part is still the same. Deathpool goes and going to kill that Cersei. And now it's Cloak's turn. So in the last match, what was happening is Icarus was stepping in and going before Cloak. This was because of the Emma. So Emma made this matchup way more difficult, because if this Icarus with offense up and doing a rewind, flipping all these regens into bleeds, that would be a huge, huge, huge issue. Okay, but because there's no Emma, this is going to work very nicely. We're going to go ahead and drop the Cloak ultimate. We're getting deaths along the way, so Dagger's getting energy. Dagger now has her ultimate. She's going to go. That takes out the Cersei, and it takes out the Weaver. So once that happens, this match is over. Now, also the Apocalypse dice. Now, that is a max build Apocalypse, but not an Awakened Apocalypse. But he didn't get to take a turn. So at even powers, maybe a big Apocalypse doesn't matter, but we were told that a big Apocalypse should step in here and cause issues. And let's be real, okay, the Firestar damage that happened at the beginning and the Gwenpool damage that happened at the beginning, that's from 7 yellow stars, 4 red stars hitting into the equivalent. So is any player going to have their Firestar and their Gwenpool built like that? Probably not. So expect Awakened Apocalypses to throw a wrench into these plans. And also, I just wanted to bring this up. I don't know what the case would have been if we did get to do Icarus, and then when would Cersei jump in there instead, would be my next question, like to there. But honestly, it's all irrelevant. So here, this is very easy at this point, because this is now a 5v1. But as we talked about before, the big issue here is that Gwenpool special is a chain attack. Now, the whole point of the playtest is to give feedback. I gave that feedback, and I'm so happy to say the developers answered, and they agreed. And Gwenpool, you can see it in the blog right now, it's written that it's going to be a chain attack. It's not. It's going to hit all enemies. We're not going to have this issue. You will be getting the flips on Icarus as well, so it is going to flip his offense up to offense down, which is going to activate a Cloak passive turn meter rewind. So I'm not sure if Emma will even make this an issue anymore. And even if it did, now that you are going to get the flips on Icarus, you can throw all your attention at him, and you can kill him in the same way you saw me kill Cersei. Now, will you be able to kill that Icarus twice before Cersei jumps in? Will Cersei jump in before Dagger gets to do her second attack, do a turn meter rewind, and kind of screw everything up? I don't know. We're going to have to see how that plays out, but it's definitely a huge improvement, and I want to give a huge shout out to those devs for listening and being like, yeah, you know what? Make it hit everybody. Make it simple. So with that said, just know that that's not going to change anything in the future battles that we're about to show. So the title still kind of stands. They're good for this room. All right, so here we are against the Unlimited X-Men team. Now this I had big reservations on because the Safeguard and the Immunity completely shuts down what New Warriors wants to do on their opening abilities. And I wasn't wrong. So let's get in there and check this out. This is a 100k punch-up. Again, my units are like all gear tier 17 on the live server. So this is not the greatest representation of how these matchups will actually go. Please keep in mind this is playtest, and it's a little wonky. It shows how the kits will work out, but as far as like pivotal moments where like you need a unit to die, the playtest is not the arbiter of truth. So just keep that in mind. And I don't know why I'm staring at this screen for this long. Let's fast forward a little bit until we actually get into the fight. Okay, so here's the thing. Gwenpool, you need to open up with her special still. That's going to give you speed meters so that you can get to that ultimate faster, which will cleanse all the debuffs, do a bunch of nice things here. Firestar, I don't think you want to use any ability here. I guess the argument can be made to use the ultimate just straight for damage. And we'll see how I progress while I'm learning this fight, because this first time around is not great. Alright, so now Cloak and Ultimate. Now he could hit a bunch of people, and I think, yeah, this was the mistake that I was making on this first fight. So that gives Dazzler just a bit too much speed bar, but it also doesn't remove anything from Gambit. So I actually do no damage to the Gambit here. And now he's going to get everything flipped, and now he's installed, he's got immunity, and this, that, and the other, and it's going to get wrecked. So in the interest of just the length of this video, and so we can watch more fights, let's just go through it. And you can see the Unlimited X-Men starts doing their thing. We start getting a bunch of AoE attacks. Gwenpool does get to do the ultimate, but it's a little too late. Rogue is now up and about, and we just got destroyed. Okay, but I played that pretty poorly, so let's get in there now and see how this goes. All right, so I'll play this one a little bit differently, and I think I make a misplay. I think I might basic here, because I'm like, oh, it'll give defense up. Don't do that. You definitely still want to use the ultimate, or sorry, the special, because it gives her speed bar and gets her to that special faster. But the next thing I do, I think, is the right call. So I basic on the Gambit, a little bit more damage. I think I ultimate on the Gambit here. Yeah, more damage on the Gambit again. Now Gambit takes his turn. Everything gets dodged. So I'm not worried about my Cloak getting ability block, which is what we're about to lean into. I'll use the special here on the Gambit now. And what that does is it takes away his defense up, gives him defense down, and then he's getting destroyed by the Dazzler. And then the Dazzler can go ahead and finish him off here, which is exactly what I do. Probably would have used the basic on him for safety. This room is kind of bugged with New Warriors. I think it works this way in live server as well. But whenever an Unlimited X member dies, then they also get hit by the death pool because they're the lowest ally. Now that seems like a really wonky interaction because it's like they res, and death pool is supposed to go for the lowest health target that didn't just res, but here she just always does. Now you can see the issue, okay? My Gwenpool is covered in debuffs. She got absolutely wrecked on the control, and that's because I didn't open up with the special. So I will lose this one as well, but I will do one last attack with it, and you'll see I play it a lot different this time. Okay, so let's go ahead and get in there. I love this splash art for her, by the way. I think it's great. So we'll use the special here. Really like Gwenpool as a raider. Obviously, it doesn't matter in this matchup because it all gets dodged, but I do think it's the right call. I use the basic with Firestar. I almost would be fine with using the ultimate here, just because it does more damage. Just because I really want to kill this Gambino. And now you see Gwenpool is also taunting here with that immunity. So although she's going to get rewound by Rogue, she has immunity because of her special. She's not going to get absolutely covered in debuffs. And then when she does her ult, we're going to be great. And now you see I got the Gambit down. He died here. And then actually this time it looks like Deathpool did not decide to finish him off, so we'll see how that changes things up a little bit here. I think this was the only time I won, though, and I had to back out to do different testing. But again, playtest. This is like a 100k punch-up. I think, like, live gambits, lots of people have that 7 red star gambit at this point, just like people have 7 red star weaver. So I wouldn't do this fight. For my Crucible, I wouldn't do this fight. I just wanted to show that it can work. Now, we are stuck behind this rogue, but Cloak didn't ult turn 1, so he's ulting turn 2. That gives us some good cover. And then Dazzler is going to ult as well. She just got rewound. That's unfortunate. And this is why I would not mind using Firestar ultimate turn 1, because you see she gets stuck behind the rogue anyway. Now, what's about to happen is Sunfire is going to use his special and come at us. We cannot cover him in a blind. It's just not something that is on the table, because he takes a turn on his special and then he uses the ultimate. And even if he was blind, I think it's unavoidable. But you see the damage still holds. Rogue dropped her taunt. She took enough turns. Then we get to start killing people off here. And now you see that wonky interaction there where we took the Dazzler's first life. She rezzed and Deathpool immediately went at her. And that's what I wanted to show you guys. The charges Deathpools get is why this matchup works in particular. By the time she gets 5, I think it's her 3rd turn, which is very, very quick, she just yeets the rogue out. So you're not worried about any kind of revive on the rogue. No death proofs matter. She just gets in there, pulls that scythe, and it's donezo. And then you see this work. So this was great. All right, so those are the 2 matchups I most wanted to see them in. I'm going to show you one that's pretty funny. In a sad way. In a sad way, it's pretty funny. Let's go check that out. All right, here's that follow-up attack. So again, it's still just a 60k punch-up. And this happens so quick. So quick. Because here's where my head was at. I'm like, okay, Unlimited feels weird. Tangled Eternals feels weird. Can I kind of use this team to free up Masters of Evil instead? You know, just make matchups a lot more secure. And then this happens. Deathpool just gets hard targeted off the beginning, and that's it. That's the end of this matchup. It goes down so fast. And this is straight Wardogs. There's no like Killmonger in here either doing any kind of wonky things. Dodges on all the enemy units. So I go to use the special just to get the dodges off. And then I give up. And that's that. So definitely not a Wakanda counter. Alright, so here they are against Darkhold. And finally, at least this team is all gear tier 16. Again, on live, they're all gear tier 17. My live team is actually like 200k stronger than this. I wish I could show that, because what I want to show is I want to show these Horseman teams that people have the maximum investment in because they're doing it for Apocalypse, and then showing it against our 4 red star, 4 yellow star new characters, which is kind of like, that's the hardcore free-to-play / light spender can potentially get 4-star about 3 weeks after a character's been released, right? From their release method to when they go into the premium orbs and whatever kind of other milestones they happen to be in along the way. That seems to be how they're playing it right now. And I feel a little weird saying that 4 stars is possible, because I've had a lot of new characters that I haven't got there. I'm kind of rambling. Anyway, let's watch how they tackle this Darkhold team. We have a lot of Mystics. We have, what, 4 Mystics on this team? There's only 1 Mutant in Firestar. So Morgan gets a lot of speed. We got to get some offense down on her to get the speed advantage. Now, Gwenpool does not actually do debuffs. We still want to use her special because we want to get her a bunch of speed so that she can then ultimate and give a safeguard and do a nice cleanse and everything like that. Like, Gwenpool's a very good character on this team, for sure. Very lackluster in the damage at 4 red star, 4 yellow star, but that's to be expected. So we landed at least 1 offense down. This is not guaranteed. You're not always going to get the offense down to land on Morgan with their 100% focus resistance. I made a mistake there. I did the ultimate on Morgan. That's a mistake because I would have preferred, I think, to use the special on Strange to give Morgan yet another stack of offense down and slow her down further so that Cloak would go first. We're going to show other versions of this matchup as well. It kind of worked out for me here because my Cloak resisted the ability block. If the Cloak didn't resist the ability block, this is a completely different kind of match. Anyway, let's watch it out. So we get to use the ultimate here. We get to land a bunch of nice blinds on the enemy team, most notably on Strange. We still get hit by this offense down, but with Gwenpool, she's about to cleanse everything, right? And that's another thing we got lucky about is he drops the trauma right away, does the cloak, so that Gwenpool can go ahead and cleanse him. We are stuck behind this Wong, though, so I don't really like that. But here's the nice cleanse. Plus, it's going to give safeguard and speed up. That speed up is very, very important on the dagger. This little flip. We're still stuck behind the Wong, though. I go for the basic. Just want to hold that special. See if I can spread some nasty debuffs maybe at a later date. Still stuck behind that Wong, but now we got him into stealth. So dagger is free to attack who she wants. Now that blind didn't help us, right? Because that is an unavoidable attack by Morgan. And now they all have immunity. This is tough, because now you're thinking like, man, if I still had that Gwenpool special, then I can flip this, and then Dagger would actually be able to smack with her ult next turn. I thought about that. I don't know how you would recover. I don't know how your Gwenpool is going to get to that turn quickly enough without the initial 70% speed bar when she uses the special. It's something we can test later, but I didn't like the idea of waiting for that ultimate. Feels like it just takes too long, because then they're not going to have the safeguard with the speed up before Morgan does her special. And that sounds really bad. But anyway, we still get to hit into the Morgan here. Deathpool is now gone. And here comes the ult from Strange, and it's a wipe, right? So I back out quickly this time. Let's go watch a different attempt at it. All right, here we go. Back at it again. It's the exact same teams. And we're going to play it a little bit differently this time. We're going to go more for a conservative approach, where we're just getting as much offense down on the Morgan as possible. Let's see what we do with Gwenpool here. Still looking at that special, because that speed bar is really big in getting her to that turn quickly enough. So yeah, I still go for the special. And now we go for some offense down. We landed one on the Morgan, which is great. And now I believe we're going to try and spread it off Strange to give her another stack of offense down. We do. We also get one to the Scarlet Witch to slow her down a little bit. I like that as well. But looks like the Morgan still gets to go before the dagger. Okay, so I misspoke before. It didn't matter unless we were resisted on the Deathpool spread. So let's try and do that for a second. Let's see if we actually do spread that offense down and we can see some kind of turn meter drop. I didn't see any turn meter drop from her there. In my mind, the turn meter rewind from Cloak, from Cloak's passive, should let him go first if Morgan gets hit by two of them, right? So much combat text for no reason. Okay, there's the 149 speed bar reduction. So it is 15%, which overrides Morgan. Okay, so Morgan gets 10%. So Morgan starts with 20% for all the Mystic characters. Cloak starts with 25 because it's a full team. So he's technically faster than Morgan. Morgan gets 10% when Gwenpool goes, and 10% when Firestar goes. That's 20%, but loses 15, or close to it anyway. So right now, Morgan is scheduled to go before Cloak by 1. She's about to gain 10% more when Deathpool goes, but she's going to lose 14.9. So this must have been resisted, or it must not have landed. So Cloak should have went first. Sorry about going all beautiful mind math on you there. But yeah, the math works out. It must have been resisted, so we're seeing a bunch of resists here from her. Yeah, she definitely resisted it. We'll try and catch it one more time. So here comes Deathpool. She uses the special. We see resisted. We see heal block. We're not seeing any turn meter rewind. We'll see when we see it for Scarlet Witch over there. Okay, there we go. We see the 1 turn meter rewind from Scarlet Witch. We don't see it on Morgan. That is why Morgan got to go before my Cloak. And that's why my Cloak got ability block and trauma and wasn't able to use his ultimate, which would have protected us better. So, not great. And that's a function of just Darkhold having 100% resist built into their kit in all modes. Just really stupid stuff. We'll use the basic from Cloak that does at least get us an offense down on the Wong. And then I go here and I try and get a kill. I decide, like, let's get the kill we know we can get, which is on Strange. He should bleed out. Actually, he's going to get a big heal from this, isn't he? Not a big heal, but enough. Annoying enough. And now we're covered in debuffs. Does our Gwenpool make it to her ultimate to save us? She does. That's good. Is it enough, though? So she doesn't get a heal. And we're stuck behind the Wong right before Morgan does her her special here. So Gwenpool is dead. Wong's dead. That's a great hit from Deathpool. Really, really like that. But yeah, so there goes Gwenpool. I still kind of think we're going to be okay here because of who is focused. Cloak is now using his ultimate because he couldn't on his opening turn. That's some good slows we get out there. Now that there's no Wong to cleanse it, Dagger comes in and gets it done. All right. So this is a win. I'm not gonna let this stand because obviously I gotta test the Gamma still. Felt really bad, right? If you're relying on those debuffs to land and you're fighting at a deficit of the focus your team gets, as opposed to what the enemy team resistance gets, that's really, really bad. And so no thank you. I don't think this is a good Darkhold counter. I wouldn't suggest it. The version where you have Kestrel instead of Gwenpool actually feels better, which is not great. And that's because it's like a burst comp, and I would not do that on a live server. Like this playtest footage is super misleading in that regard. So yeah, these bigger Darkholds, don't use your new warriors on it, especially if you haven't Krakened out on Firestar and Gwenpool. Let's go check out Gamma, because at least Gamma's an easy win. All right, so here we are in Gamma, and this is what I was able to use them with last time when I didn't have Gwenpool on the playtest. I since tried that on the live server with like Surfer or Quicksilver, and for me, it's lost me 2 out of my 3 Crucibles this week. So thanks playtest, that was great. But it does seem to be working for other people, especially those who have gotten more yellow stars because they bought Quicksilver's offer. I'm glad it worked for them. I'm glad the playtest didn't screw them over. But it just really goes to show, like, do not trust the playtest. Please trust me that you shouldn't trust them. But anyway, Gwenpool makes this one very, very easy. So I would be more open to taking this matchup now. But a new team for Gamma feels super weird because there's a lot of counters here, right? There's Doom Dorm. There's Eternals with new warriors instead. There's any kind of Tangled Web team absolutely destroys this. I was purposely hitting the Red Hulk because I wanted to, like, emulate if She-Hulk was in the corner and Red Hulk was beside, like, I would still want to hit a third unit. So I started doing it this way to just really push Red Hulk faster. And it didn't matter at all. Like, it mattered very little. And the reason for that is because Red Hulk is going to use his special. It's going to get dodged a bunch. And then Gwenpool is going to come in here and she's going to use her ultimate to give safeguard. So even though Red Hulk, if he were to survive to use his ultimate, which he's not going to, we're not going to get to see that, I would still have had safeguard. Nothing would have been flipped. I would have had speed up on my dagger and my cloak, and then I would have been able to control him from there. But yeah, so I'm actually going to end this because I don't want him to bleed out. I want to go test the real raid boss of Crucible, and you guys know who I'm talking about. So yeah, very, very happy to inform that New Warriors completely walks over Young Avengers. Don't blink because you'll miss it. I don't know. I'm just leaning into the meme at this point. We get to flip absolutely everything. I guess, like, if you have a very, very small New Warriors and you have so much in offense that this is your last thing you need to do, this is going to be good. That's a 4 red, 4 yellow Firestar that just yeeted off a full level Kate. She just hits super hard, especially that defense down, and they fall apart. Anyway, guys, let me know what you're thinking about this team. I got to be honest. The way that it tackles that Tangled Web Eternal team, not a fan at all. Hopefully I got to try Apocalypse before this video goes out, which should be the case. But I was not a fan. It's so sketchy if you can't control those Eternals and you get flipped. And the fact that everyone has very established Tangled Web because of the Weaver issue. Everyone has very established Eternals because they've been the raid meta for like 2 years, and they were the arena meta, and everyone wanted them, and they started giving us more shards. So people have that team very established. So the fact that there's a way so that you can control both Eternals, and there's like just so much more stats on them than what you're gonna have. Not a fan. Let me know what you guys are thinking in the comment section below. I'll make sure that I jump down there and conversate with you guys. Take care.
That's it for the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Stay happy, healthy, have fun, and I'll see you in the next one.